Hello and welcome to MountPodcast, the official podcast of everything Mount Prospect. I'm your host, Howard Kleinstein, the Director of Digital Communications for the Village of Mount Prospect. MountPodcast brings intriguing interviews with the movers and shakers in the 56. This podcast will give you, the listener, inside information about the people who make Mount Prospect a place where friendliness is a way of life. Today we have with us Dutch DeGroot. Thanks for coming, Dutch.
My pleasure, Howard. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here as well. So, Dutch, I've known you for a while. We've been doing events and things like that. But I know a little bit about you, but we're going to tell the people listening and the viewers a little bit more about you. Let's start out with the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Chicago, Illinois, to two parents that were very loving, even though they got divorced early. But I had a great upbringing. I was a city kid. Got quite a Chicago accent. But I've been out here in Mount Prospect about, 38 years now.
Okay. What part of Chicago did you grow up in?
I was in the Northwest Side. I went to Steinmetz High School. I was a graduate there in 1968.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask you next. So you graduated from Steinmetz, and tell me a little bit about the circumstances that brought you into military service.
It's very interesting because we can start back to 1968. I just graduated from high school. I was trying to find my way. The Vietnam War was at its onset. And my parents would have been very upset. So at that time, the draft was in place. So I actually volunteered for the draft, which means my parents never found out that I basically joined the Army. And my mother was pretty upset. I'm 18 years old, and I think it was probably in late August, I got a draft notice saying, "Your greetings, you're going into the military." And she says, "You just graduated high school." I said, "Well, Mom, the paperwork, this is how it is." And my father, in October 21st, 1968, drove me down to Van Buren Street and left me off there. And he just couldn't believe I was going into the military. He says, and my real name is John. He said, "Johnny, let me know what time I should pick you up tonight." And I was on my way to Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
So you did you think that you had a high number and you
They didn't have the number yet.
They had,
believe it or not, the numbers didn't come out to 1969.
Okay.
So there was no number involved.
All right.
So if there was no way of them knowing.
Okay, so you just thought that would be a good idea to join?
I don't know what I was thinking. I was a kid. You don't think much when you were a kid, but it was a life-changing event for me. Probably, I can't even explain how it changed my life.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And I went to Fort Campbell for basic training. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of it, most of the people were getting infantry orders. They go to infantry school. All of a sudden, my Drill Sergeant Johnson, I remember him vividly, said, 95 Bravo, what's that? Military Police School.
Okay.
So I got a short leave. It was around the holidays, and I got a short leave, and then I went down to Fort Gordon, Georgia, which at that time was a military police school. They've renamed the base since. And I was too young to be a military policeman. You had to be 19 by the time you graduated the school, so I wouldn't be of the age until April 15th, which is my birthday. And then they had a height requirement back then. So they said, you have to be 5'10". And I got measured, and they said, you just made it.
Okay.
Well, it was years later that I found out that I was 5'8". I thought I was 5'10" most of my life, but they just didn't want to do the paperwork over. Went into a holding company. Long story short, I graduated military police school April 19th, 1969. And then I was sent to Bayonne, New Jersey. There was a military police platoon out there. I could see the Statue of Liberty from my window, and we would go to New York during the week. And when you're making $85 a month, money didn't last too long there.
No.
So eventually I think it was in late spring or so, I volunteered for Vietnam duty.
Okay.
And then they couldn't turn you down for that, even though my unit didn't want me to leave. They had no choice when you did that. And then I wound up in Vietnam in October of 1969. So.
And yeah,
Yeah. So,
there was the height of the war.
yeah, well, it was after Tet, but it was still quite a lot going on. A lot of people were getting killed and injured and everything else. And I went up to the AmeriCal Division. And AmeriCal Division is, it's different. It was all the way up north, just south of Da Nang. And that's where the North Vietnamese Army. So we were fighting them or anything else. And I did police duties out there. So it basically was a rural area, and I would do patrol work. And it could be pretty dangerous. You know, we were out in the middle of nowhere, just myself and another military policeman in a Jeep at that time. And then I also volunteered at the time to serve as a helicopter door gunner on a LOH-6, which is a small helicopter. It's not like the ones you see. And they basically hang out the side door, and I'd fly around like that. And I completed my duty a year later and got home and never thought nothing more about it. And had a bad taste in my mouth. Most people did then. And I was out 18 years, and then I'm 38 years old. I was in great shape. And the Army Reserve had a one-year program. And I said, somebody talked to me. I said, I'll try this, okay? And I went in the Army Reserve. Didn't quite like the feel about how the active duty treated the Army Reserve, especially I was a combat veteran. And then I changed to the Air Force. I switched to the Air Force Reserve, which was just amazing because you go on active duty when you go on your 2 weeks or 3 weeks annual tour, and you're trained to the utmost. So the Air Force can't get along without the reservists. So you're an integral part of the Air Force. And I loved that. And I never thought I was going to make a career out of it. After Desert Storm, I went to Turkey for Operation Provide Comfort. We were living in tents, but it was still nothing as rough as Vietnam because the Air Force is treated a little nicer. And then in 2006, I asked for a duty assignment over in the Middle East, and I was a graphic artist by that time. I loaded planes for a while, and then I switched to be what I do as a living, a graphic artist. And there's no job in war for Air Force graphic artists, so they put you in intelligence, and you do the weapons system video. So I was assigned to an intelligence unit, and then I was outsourced to the 335th Fighter Squadron, which was F-15 squadrons, and it was just amazing. I'm one of only 700 vets, Vietnam vets, I'm told, that served in the global war of terror over in the Middle East. So they treated me like gold. And I was working with Academy graduates and just all sorts of people, and it was just amazing.
What were you doing for them?
Weapon system videos. So what would happen is they have what they call pods on these F-15s, and they could switch UV or and they could just see things when the Earth is unturning. That they would find IEDs, so they would see something strange while they're flying around. A weapons system officer would see it, or else they would be bombing things like that. But that's all on video. So my job is they would land, and within an hour, I had to edit any video that was pertinent with grid coordinates and things like that, while the pilots and weapon system officer are getting debriefed by intelligence people. So they put their report in this and that, and we had to have it up to higher headquarters within an hour. And I can tell you, I was part of finding no less than 30 IEDs and probably saving some American service people's lives. So it was really gratifying. And at that time, I was a master sergeant, which is a senior non-commissioned officer, and it was great. And then I retired in 2007.
Okay. Going back a little bit, for the people who may not know, explain what an IED is.
An IED is an improvised explosive device. Okay, so they would bury these things near roadways and that. And when they were trying trying to fly over, they could see some of the earth might be disturbed. So the pilots would report that. I'd find the clip, which would also have the grid coordinates on it, and I would splice that out of the video and send that up to higher headquarters.
Okay.
All through a very secretive
Sure.
internet. They'd call it the cybernet.
But it would save a convoy from
Well,
rolling
yeah,
over
exactly.
it.
They would get engineers out there and defuse the thing. And I forget, I have a after-action write-up for my service over there, which tells you how many lives we feel we saved and all these incidents and they happened. It was very gratifying duty on my last leg of service.
Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit, if you don't mind. You served in Vietnam, and your tour of duty was over, and you said you felt a little dissatisfied. What were you?
It was a sign of the times. I mean, it was the people were tired of the war. There was a lot of dissatisfaction. The country was in turmoil, basically. So, there were demonstrations, things like that. I never had any of these incidents where people would spit on you going through the airport or anything like that. Nobody ever spit on me or did anything like that. And, but yeah, it was rough times.
Yeah. Okay. So in between the two military tours or times when you were in the military, what did you do then when you got back from Vietnam? Did you go to college?
I went to school. Actually, Illinois, and now I'm VFW service officer, so I know all these things. Illinois has some of the best benefits for veterans in the whole country. So we have the Illinois GI Bill, which means if you were a resident before 6 months before in Illinois and a resident afterwards, you get 120 hours of education, no matter what level of education at a state-supported school. So I went and I got a degree in printing, which was one of the few things I did well in high school. And I got a degree, and I was working as a graphic artist / printer for all my civilian career. And that was very interesting times, too, because technology took over. I was able to keep up with it. There was an explosion in the 70s and early 80s because they invented scanners for four-color process. And they couldn't hire people quick enough. And it took you about 10 years to get good at the job. So I really hit the jackpot as far as making a living. It was good times for printers.
Good. So when did you come to Mount Prospect, and what brought you here?
Well, we were living in this city, and we had 3 little boys. We had one that was 10, one that was 8, and one that was under 1. Okay, so and we needed a bigger place. We just had a tiny little house in Chicago, which we thought was cool, but I looked for a 3-bedroom house, couldn't find one, and then I was at a friend's house here in Mount Prospect, and the house was for sale next door. It was a graduation party, and I've been a very lucky guy my whole life. So I took a walk through the house, and I got my wife. I said, "This is perfect, and the price is right," which most houses we couldn't afford, and it had 4 bedrooms. And I asked my friend, I said, "Would you mind if I made an offer and lived next to you?" And he said, "No, not at all." And that's how I purchased that house, and I moved to Mount Prospect. Luck of the draw. And then the more I've been in this town, the more, this village, it's amazing. It's one of the just top places you could ever ask to live. So I've been very fortunate.
Okay, yeah. What year was that? Do you remember?
1986.
86, okay.
Right. So I've been here ever since. Never looked back. And then we got involved with the veterans organizations here.
Well,
and
tell me about that.
Well, we have, they had the parade. Most of them were World War II guys. And I seen them marching down the 4th of July. And there's a guy with the Americal Division patch on it from World War II. Now, the Americal Division has a unique history. It's the only division never to serve on the shores of the United States. And it's Americal because these World War II guys were on New Caledonia. They had a contest to name the division. So they named it the AmeriCal Division, Americans on New Caledonia. And they were the first Army division in combat during World War II. And here I see one of these heroes walking down. They were with the Marines on Guadalcanal to relieve the Marines later. And he became a friend, and I joined the post. And then I was working. It was hard to, but as I got older, I became the service officer, which means that I know how to get veterans their benefits, help families, things of that nature. Our post does some amazing things, as well as the American Legion. And I'm in both posts, as most of us are. And as you know, we are really doing a lot of things in this whole area. It's amazing.
Yes, the vets are very involved in doing things in Mount Prospect, not just for themselves but for others. And you do a lot of fundraising and you help people out. One of the things that is terrific that you guys do is the Thanksgiving dinner for the sailors.
Right.
Can you tell me about that?
I can tell you that we, about just before COVID, we got a new member that transferred over to our post, Casey Backer. And he had been doing this for a number of years, and he says, what do you guys think that we get these sailors here? And we're also partners with the Moose. And the Moose has been so gracious to us, as well as the Lions Club here.
They host your meetings, right?
They host our meetings. They've actually just adopted us. And I can't say enough for the Moose or the Lions Club, which also helps us financially in so many ways and support. So Casey got the sailors together. He does the fundraising, things like that. And we had to cancel it because of COVID, so this is going to be our third year going, and we get 50 sailors, and we dine them, and we get them phone calls so they can finally call home because they're in basic training, and I'll never miss another Thanksgiving not doing this again. And thank goodness for Casey, is such a go-getter. So we've been very fortunate. That's one of the many things we do. And then I, as a service officer, constantly get calls for veterans and their families needing help, wanting to know about VA benefits. We also got that we have a service officer, veteran service officer that's accredited with the VA, coming to the Fisbee Senior Center first Monday of the month, and now we have an Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs accredited service officer that comes every Wednesday. And then we even got a VA host coming every Thursday, last Thursday of the month. So we're doing things where we can help veterans and they can walk right in and get some help. So one of many things we are doing.
Okay. I know that one of the things that you're involved with and is near and dear to your heart is helping veterans who are suffering from PTSD and are suicidal. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, we do, because I'm not an accredited expert on this, but we do know where to get them help.
Right.
Okay, so we had after Afghanistan and withdrawal happened, we have suicides of like 22 a day for veterans. The veterans community is off the charts. For some reason, it's so sad about suicides. But after Afghanistan and withdrawal, it was probably going up to 60 a day. It was horrible. So we had one incident, I had two incidents within 10 days of veterans committing suicide. And without getting in specifics, one was the recent widow. We found out that the husband did have some issues. He was seeing a VA for PTSD. Naturally, we've said this is PTSD related. So we were able to help the recent widow with two small children get what they call dependency and indemnity compensation. So what that is, if a veteran passes away from a service-connected issue, we can put them in there, and then the surviving spouse can get, right now it's about $1,600 a month, tax-free for the rest of their life. And also, I was recently the legislative chairman for the VFW for Illinois. We've gotten a law passed where they do not have to pay real estate tax in Illinois. Like I said, Illinois
Okay.
is at the top of
Yeah.
the list for benefits. But a lot of people don't know about these benefits. Case in point, a few years ago, I had a lady in Mariana's parking lot give me a card. She see my jacket there at VFW, gives me a card, says, "Thank you for your service." And I go, "What's this about?" She goes, "I do it in honor of my late husband." "Really?" Now my antenna are up. And I go, "Can I ask you, was your husband in Vietnam?" "Well, yes. Yeah, he was in Vietnam, a Marine, this and that." And I said, "Well, my condolences, but can I ask you, how did he pass away?" And she said he had a massive heart attack. Now, there are many cases where Agent Orange is a presumptive thing. Ischemic heart disease is one, as well as lung cancer. So I said, "Are you getting your benefits?" And she says, "What do you mean?" I go, "Today is your lucky day." And we were able to get her that dependency and indemnity compensation. And she emailed me about 3 months later. She said, "Thank you so much. I can finally retire." This is how we change lives for people.
Yeah.
This is what these veterans organizations do. If we didn't have the veterans organizations, we might not have these benefits.
That's very true, because the lobby to get these laws passed and legislation that provides these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've gotten some things passed in the last 3-4 years since I've been involved with legislative things. We've got the Claim Shark bill just passed this last year. And what that is, we have unaccredited people that are stealing money from veterans. Nationwide, they've taken $440 million from veterans. 120,000 veterans have been defrauded, but we can't get it passed. There's no law that has any bite to it, especially on the federal level. We tried to do that, but unfortunately, a lot of these congressmen and that are getting contributions from this group and getting lobbied by this group. So we were asked to see if we could do it at the state level, and we got it. We started at the state level. The Attorney General helped us write that bill. They've been just wonderful. And then all of a sudden they found out about these claim sharks in Springfield. We were doing this. They got 8 different lobbying firms to go against us. And guess what? They didn't get one vote. It passed the House and Senate unanimously, and the governor just signed this about 2 months ago.
Oh, that's terrific.
It's phenomenal stuff. So this
Yeah.
is the kind of stuff. I got to say that legislators, no matter what side of the aisle they are on, they have been very supportive of all our endeavors when the veterans ask them.
Yeah. I think that for a while the veterans were not as valued, and that there's been a big shift in that sort of thinking, and I think people have come around to see, and especially the legislatures, that there needs to be more done for veterans.
It's a matter of education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, switching gears a little bit, I know that the VFW is celebrating a centennial.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
I sure can. It's we are going to have post 1337 was actually came into being 7 April 1925. So we said we need to have our centennial celebration. And first of all, we offered to our members and the Lions and the Moose, who are close partners, for them to have the first sign up, because we don't want them to be left out, because it's going to be limited seating. And it's our gala is going to be 5 April. It's a Centillion in Palatine.
The cotillion.
Cotillion, thank
Yes.
you. Yeah, okay. So the ticket prices are $120, but that gets you filet dinner if you wish, 5-hour open bar, hors d'oeuvres, unlimited wine. We're going to have a band there. We're going to have the Navy Orchestra for cocktail hour, and we're going to have especially, this is worth the price of admission itself. We're going to have Alan J. Lynch, Medal of Honor recipient from the 1st Air Cav, who's a very friend of us. He is going to be our keynote speaker. So it's going to be something that's open to the public now that I say nobody wants to miss. This is going to be, we're only going to do this once every 100 years.
Well, there you go.
So if you want to see it, you can find it. It's on our all the details on our website, VFW1337.com. And if you look under, I think it's under, under programs. And it's the first thing there. You can even sign up online if you want. I know you, Howard, are going to help us with some of the AV stuff, which we're very grateful for. The village helps us in so many ways. We've got an ad book. We're raising funds for this because the $120 just basically covers the meal itself. But it's something, if you want to celebrate and actually be in person with a Medal of Honor recipient, one of our nation's heroes, there's just a handful. That's worth it alone to me.
Where did he win his Medal of Honor?
He didn't win it. He received it.
When did he? I'm sorry. When did he earn it?
He got it in Vietnam.
Okay.
1968. He was an infantryman, and he's got actually a book out, Zero to Hero, and hopefully we'll have some copies there. We've got copies at the library if somebody wants to check it out. And you could see where he was as a young man. He was bullied. He talks about that. He's very open. The book is just wonderful. I've read it a couple of times myself, but he is a true hero, and he really gives it a veterans community. He's something. He was our keynote speaker 2 years ago, right at our Memorial Day ceremony. So, and that was a packed house, as you know, Howard. So we're just delighted to have him, and there's going to be some other surprises too.
Okay, well, we're all going to be looking forward to it coming up next April. So any veterans out there who may be unaffiliated, what do they do to contact somebody in order to get involved in the local VFW? They
can contact me. My email is very easy, Dutch23MP, like military police, at Comcast.net. We have our website that you can contact us through. Here's the difference. A lot of people don't understand. I'm in the VFW and also our American Legion Post 525. To be in the VFW, you have to have served in a combat zone.
Right.
Okay, so you have to have one of the service medals that denote that. The American Legion, if you served on active duty, you're eligible for that. Again, we support both of them. Our Post 525 is as vibrant as our VFW Post. We have been, our VFW Post, what they call All-American. It's the highest ranking you can get for a post in the VFW, National VFW. It goes by sizes of units. We've got about 130 people in our post. We have been All-American posts, thanks to our Commander Durov, 6 years in a row. It's unprecedented. So we are one of the top, and I guarantee you, every company, you're always welcome to come over to our meetings if you're eligible. And you know what? Just sit there, and I guarantee you, by the time you're done, you're probably going to want to join us. If not, you had a good time.
Okay. One last thing. I know you kind of glossed over a little bit your service in Vietnam. Do you have one story you could tell about anything that happened to you in Vietnam?
Oh, there was a lot of stories. I just remember. Well, some were pretty funny. Some of them are not. But it's like we lived in pretty primitive conditions, and there was a lot of horseplay. Our platoon leader was a captain, and MPs, we were all kids, right? And one time we're having a little cookout. We found these steaks, right? And we're having a cookout, and he goes, "Boy, this is delicious. Boy, where did you guys get it?" They just came to. All of a sudden, there's a report later that somebody got into our mess hall there, the little mess hall, and stole cases of steaks. I don't know where that came from. So the military police, who's going to arrest us, right? And then there was a time where you used to dream about pizzas. We were eating C rations, things like that. And we found out at our main base at Chu Lai, which was some distance away, that the officers club had these tiny little pizzas, but it was for officers, not enlisted men. So again, being a military policeman, we just we had these crank up phones, and we called up the Chulai, the officers club in Chulai, okay? And we said, this is Captain Stiles from the military police. I'd like to have 10 pizzas, and I'm sending military police patrol to pick them up. And that was like cool. That was just, just little things like that. It was a long year, Howard.
I'm sure it was. Well, we're glad that you survived your year and you came back to us, and I'm so glad to be able to talk to you and to be able to help the VFW in any way that I can. And thank you for coming in and talking to us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Howard, and thank you for all the village does for the veterans. You're staunch supporters of us for decades, as long as I've been a member, and we just live in a great village. That's all I got to say.
I agree. Well, thank you, and thank you for joining us. You've been listening to Mount Podcast. Mount Podcast can be found on your favorite podcast download sites and on the village website, mountprospect.org. Join us next time as we bring you another conversation with someone worth talking to in Mount Prospect. See you then.